they're going to try to portray you in the article.
You're a prop. You're a prop, so they can claim they did a real interview.
Exactly, and all they need you for is the ability to put a couple of quotation marks within their article to make their article seem more legitimate, give it some more character and things like that. They know what kind of article they're going to write about you, how they're going to portray you in that article long before they sit down with you. And Jeff Pearlman, after the article came out, I should have done this obviously before, but I'd known the man for about 2, 3, 4 years. Spent many afternoons, evenings, in clubhouses. He was the head baseball writer for Sports Illustrated. Spent many afternoons with him, and he was about a year or two older than me. I thought we were kind of buddies. I don't need to check this guy out. But looking back, books he had written, articles he had written, and even going forward, pretty much anyone he writes about, he disparages up one side, down another. Walter Payton recently in his book called Sweetness about Walter Payton, just rips Walter Payton a new one. The man is a sports icon, a legend, a revered legend, and second of all, he's dead. The guy can't even defend himself, yet Jeff Pearlman thinks it's in good taste to write a book that largely talks about one of the beloved American icons in football, talk about off-field transgressions, drug abuse, marital infidelity, all the negatives about him. That's what Jeff Pearlman chooses to focus on. That's the man that wrote this article about me. He took a 30-minute conversation and gleans out 8 words here and half a sentence there and a few little, nuggets there, slaps them on a page with his context around it, and basically fulfilled the theme that he set out to write before he ever even sat down.
And it's disgusting, and they write, though, for a certain crowd of sports fans that really hate athletes and successful people, and they just do it so they feel good watching somebody big fall. And, if somebody's human and has problems, I don't want to watch them fall. I like watching tyrants and abusers fall, but it's not a satisfaction. It's more of a, knowing the bad guy's been beaten.
Yeah, and you just read the headline, the caption from the Huffington Post. I did that interview about a month ago. That was the first print interview I've done in probably 4 or 5 years. And going into it, I'm like, I'm sort of grudgingly doing it. I gave the girl a great interview, and she was obviously from a Democratic side of the political coin. We had great banter. We had great rapport. Interview was what I thought was really good. I picked the article up and read. I'm like, is that the same interview I gave? Really? And no matter what I said, no matter how good and or bad of an interview I gave to that girl.
No, see, they're cheaters. When I've written articles and interviews, because I'm so used to doing them live on air over the years, if somebody makes a good point, I leave it in there because I want to have an interesting interview. But you're absolutely right. A lot of these journalists are archetypal cowards. They love the median of a taped interview because they can edit it however they want. Yeah. They can always win. And in their mind, they win when they make somebody more wealthy, more successful, with more physical prowess and mental prowess than them look bad. What a joke. We'll be right back with a long segment. Stay with us.
We're on the march. The Empire.
John Rocker is our guest. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to get into a bunch of news that's been breaking from the campaign trail and what's happening with the economy. We got 18 minutes right now with John Rocker. All right, covering the waterfront here. You want to get into the TSA. You travel quite a bit. What's your take on this group that seems to be looking for Al-Qaeda in our underwear?
Complaining about this so much, I'm sort of out of breath on this one. I think everybody can both sides of the political fence, both all angles of our society, I think can agree. TSA, they're a joke. They're basically useless. Looking under grandma's wig and under in grandpa's pockets. Obviously, that doesn't solve a whole lot. I don't feel a whole lot safer when I walk through the TSA lines. I see some of the people who are supposed to be protecting our countries and protecting our country, protecting our airways. Certainly not feel any safer. Looking at some of the folks that have been commissioned with that. I think we can all collectively agree on that. What will ever be done to improve upon the whole system and the whole concept there? Who knows? I know privatizing it would probably be a start. Because certainly what they're doing, I don't think really offers a whole lot. I believe if I'm speaking incorrectly, please correct me. All the plots from the underwear bombers to the shoe bombers to whomever else out there have been uncovered by CIA and FBI. And
Well, now the TSA is expanding out to the roads, the highways, the bridges, while they basically leave the borders wide open. I mean, it's amazing. What's your take on? Well, I mean, give us your view on that.
Well, actually, I'm just hearing about that for the first time, but it is absolutely laughable to provide that much manpower to roads and bridges and things like that. When you just hit the nail on the head, the borders are wide open. Basically just a chain link fence that anybody can just pull right on through. That is absolutely laughable to spend that much energy, money, manpower to secure bridges, and obviously maybe that needs to be done. The Washington Bridge, the Lincoln Tunnel, things like that. Obviously, extremely traveled thoroughfares. You're talking about coming in and out of New York City. Definitely safety. Some kind of safety.
Yeah, but you don't have feds who aren't even police doing it, and obviously cameras can, cameras and things can do that. The point is, it's a giant power grab. What's your view on Fast and Furious? I mean, they've been caught shipping the guns into Mexico. They've been caught using it to blame the Second Amendment.
Yeah, and it gets right down to one thing. If you're not doing anything, that you don't want the American people to know about, turn over the documents. I mean, how hard is it? I mean, executive privilege. We've been dancing around this issue for better than 6 months now. Stories seem to change on a weekly basis. If you're not doing anything that you need to hide, turn over the X number of 100 documents that the Congressional Committee wants to see. Let's be done with it. Try to play the race card, and now we try the exertion of executive privilege, and I mean we're dancing around things that should be non-issues. If there's nothing to hide, let's see the documents. Let the American public know it. Let the Congressional Committee have their day in the hearing and say, okay, we've investigated. No harm, no foul. Wash our hands clean. Let's move on. This is a situation. If there wasn't anything that overtly wrong was going on, it could have been solved months ago. There obviously is something monumental that Eric Holder's trying to hide.
Have you heard the quote from the vice president saying that if they vote for Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney, that they're going to have chains back on them?
I heard that this morning. I was watching Fox News this morning and actually heard that. And you just every time you think you're making some headway, on the social side of the fence, race relations, mending of race relations, and unifying and becoming a more cohesive America moving forward, where we can look past these these differences in nationalities and skin pigmentations and things like that. Some boob comes up with a comment like that and just drives that nail home once again.
Well, sure, but my point is they go after you for statements that were a lot milder than that racially, and then you've got Obama, the Chicago organizer, Reverend Wright, with all this pure race stuff, and then Biden obviously using racial politics. Why is it okay for the so-called liberals to do this all day?
Well, when you have 80% of the media being of liberal mindset, and what you were just talking about, going in that way of I guess, racial rhetoric, you have 80% of the media who, let's face it, that's where we get, the large majority, 90% of our news and information comes from a media who is 80% liberal. If the person that's fitting that racial rhetoric, if they're basically preaching to the choir with 80% of the media who gets those thoughts and ideals and things like that, if they disagree, they're the ones who are going to be hammering you. If you're preaching to the choir, the people that are going to be getting the message out and getting the word out, they're not going to get it out in that fashion, unless you're someone like me that sort of goes against the mainstream, with the mainstream media, their thoughts, ideals, they're going to turn on you pretty quick. If you're speaking in the same vein that they speak and they think in, they're just going to go right along with you and give you carte blanche.
What is your take on Mitt Romney shifting in another area? I mean, he has a very globalist, big government type voting record as governor, and the policy supported restricting guns, open borders, helped write what became Obamacare, supported No Child Left Behind, supported carbon taxes, Al Gore type stuff. I mean, what do you do when you've got Obama, who's so bad, and then you've got Mitt Romney? I mean, is it a lesser of two evils? I mean, I have to say, Paul Ryan has been anti-abortion. He has been pro-Second Amendment. So that overall is a good thing. But then I get upset about the Republicans supporting Patriot Act and things that are really being used on the American people.
I'm right there with you. And this is just one more situation, one more election cycle that goes by. You're not necessarily voting for the candidate you like. You're voting against the candidate you don't like. I mean, is Mitt Romney, if we could build a candidate, will we build Mitt Romney? Absolutely not. But I can tell you, if we could be presented with two candidates, both of which we didn't build, would be people that think with our mindset and our mind frames, our ideologies, would pick Mitt Romney all day long over Barack Obama. He definitely is the lesser of two evils.
My only issue is if Obama was in again, I think this country would wake up so much it'd be over for that whole globalist, communist, fascist.
It definitely would. I mean, I think right now it's going to take some heavy lifting. I still think we can kind of change the tide, change the course we're on. It's going to take a big fat parking brake to get us there, turn around, reverse, go in the other direction. I think if we had 3 or 4 more years of that, I think the ship would be too far underwater to ride it at that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the debate. Let things get really bad, and then America totally swings the other way towards freedom. Or would it be so bad Obama could stage something? I mean, if they'd stage Fast and Furious, as Larry Pratt said a few weeks ago from Gun Owners of America, they would stage anything. I've got some other political questions for you, but let's go to another area. You're about to start a national speaking tour. And in fact, if people want to read what you're actually writing and saying instead of what the media is spinning, it's johnrocker.net. Is that a good website to visit?
Well, it is. I don't update that site a whole lot. It does have my speaking English mission statement on there. Of course, my books are available there amongst the Amazons and Barnes and Nobles and places like that. I think the best place is probably WorldNetDaily. My column comes out every Tuesday. I kind of have, like I said earlier, carte blanche to kind of write about whatever I want to write about. This past Tuesday, I wrote about the fracturing of America, basically speaking about, I guess, the lack of emphasis is put on the family structure, how that affects our communities, how that affects America at large. So every week it's something different. I think this week I'm going to write about just kind of a tribute to our Olympians. The Olympics ended a couple of days ago, and just how proud we should be of our Olympians, and just the kind of life they lead and sort of the torch they carry, to use sort of a cliched phrase there, sort of the torch they carry, as a beacon for America, and just what a great job they do with that. I think I'm going to write about that this week.
Looking at the world in general, geopolitically, nobody was a fan of Gaddafi or even Assad, but they had been working, with the West and not stirring stuff up, and it actually kind of coming out of the cold. And then now Obama and NATO and others, I'm sure you saw the controversy a few months ago where the Joint Chiefs told Congress that the UN and NATO is now over our military, and Congress seemed to sit there and take it. Have you seen the reports where they admit Al-Qaeda is the main force that NATO is aiding in Libya, taking it over, and now in Syria?
I have seen that to some degree, and I've been following it real closely, but yeah, to some degree I have been reading those reports, yes.
Well, I mean, what's your take on that? That sounds pretty crazy to me.
But there again, I mean, over in that region, it's trying to, I guess you're trying to align yourself with the least crazy faction. Who's worse over there, Al-Qaeda, or is it Hamas, or is it the Muslim Brotherhood? I mean, who do you pick? You got to align yourself with someone that that maybe you can work with and is a little more malleable, and you can try to establish some kind of a relationship with.
Yeah, that was Gaddafi and Assad. I mean, they admit Al-Qaeda is the craziest bunch. So why is Obama aligning with Al-Qaeda?
Who knows? Why does he do half the things he does? I have no idea what makes that man tick, what flows through his head. You never know.
Yeah, it's super, super creepy.
Here's another thing, too. And then we sit on, I get on my little website every Tuesday, and obviously you have a very successful radio show, and we talk and we rant, and we voice our opinions and we question everybody. I sort of liken that to a political campaign. When Obama was running 4 years ago, when Romney's running now, they say they're going to do this, and particularly amongst foreign policy, it's very difficult